Do you have your Wi-Fi or your LAN cable plugged in, your Ethernet cable?
No, I ordered one on Amazon. I just started the recording, so my video hopefully won't chop out. I don't have anything else running on my computer this time.
There we
Uh,
go.
so I think that might have been the concern previously, where it just like all of a sudden I just like freeze like this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but so video number one, we spoke through, John, your program for expireds,
Yep.
withdrawals, how you leave voicemails, and how that's such an effective system to follow.
Yep.
And so again, just talking through now with for sale by owner aspect, um, that I guess the first question I was really thinking is, how do you think that they're different? Because you spoke
Yeah.
the first time, like the mindset of an expired is basically they're pissed off, frustrated. They had their house up for sale with an agent and it didn't work.
Yep.
And I feel personally like a FSBO is kind of a different animal.
Yep.
So I guess any thoughts on that as far as like who you're talking to, number
Yeah.
one, before you even call them.
Absolutely. Great lead in, Pete, because to me, the first thing I try to do when I'm talking to, any other agents about this is you'll recall I started the mindset of an expired.
Right.
So what I'd like to do now is let's talk for a minute about the mindset of a for sale by owner. So I think this is just me, but I've done a whole lot of them. So I think there's a little validity here. But in my humble opinion, where 90% of agents that try to pursue for sale by owners make a gigantic mistake right out of the gate is they immediately try to convince the for sale by owner to list with them. No questions asked. It's never going to work. You're wasting your time. You're never going to sell it by yourself. It's too out of a market. Whatever their approach is. Well, I've kind of learned from trial and error. Here's where I think their mindset is. A typical for sale by owner, whether he sold a home on his own previously or not, or never tried it before, thinks he's going to sell it by himself. He's going to think he doesn't need any of us realtors. He doesn't want to pay 6%. He doesn't want to pay any percent. He says the market is so hot, I can wave a napkin in the driveway and it's going to sell. And I'll handle this inspector. I got my boxing gloves on and I'm ready to go. So I don't need you realtors. Now, maybe they've had a bad experience, maybe not, but they are of the mindset that they don't need any of us. So what I try to do is I'm going to come at it the other way instead of so let's say, one of my land voice leads here came up, let's say first of the week. And whether it's the first day, third day, anytime in the first week, if I'm going to try to call a for sale by owner fairly soon after he lists as a for sale by owner, here's my thinking. There's a good chance he's probably spent some money on some ads, local newspaper. There's some for sale by owner sites out there that you can advertise your home on. I think, I don't know, maybe it is Zillow has a for sale by owner package.
Yeah,
So
it's like 49.
Yeah, they're going to spend some money because they don't need us. So they're determined that they're going to sell it on themselves, by themselves. So what I'm going to do, so here comes 50 realtors calling on Mr. For Sale by Owner this first week, knocking on the door, unannounced doorbells, delivering packages to the doorstep, calling relentlessly, not taking no for an answer. They're just determined they're going to convince him without fail to stop trying to sell for sale by owner and list it.
Right.
And what I've noticed is a lot of it turns rather confrontational. They don't know reverse, especially some of these new overzealous agents. They don't know what they're getting into. They have no strategy. They're instructed by their office, just keep calling. Don't take no for an answer. That's the only way to succeed. Just keep calling. Just keep knocking. Well, the seller's going to get tired of that real quick. Okay.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call him on the phone and I'm going to introduce myself. And I'm going to say, let's say Tom. Hi, Tom. This is John DeSmedt with eXp Realty. I'm located right here in Matthews, and I just wanted to call and introduce myself. At first, I wanted to just see, is your home still available for sale? Yes, John, it is. Okay, great. And are you still attempting to sell for sale by owner? Yes, I am. Okay, great. Well, Tom, just so you know, I'm a realtor here in the area. I'm with EXP, and I've had the good fortune to assist many for sale by owner homeowners, just like yourself. And as you're well aware, we're in the hottest market that Charlotte has ever seen. So what I wanted to do here today is just call and simply introduce myself and let you know that I've had a lot of experience in this area. And I'm simply here to share with you the thought that if you're able to sell your home on your own, if you don't need any of us and you can dodge the commission, more power to you. Now, most can't, but if you're one of the very few that's able to snag a buyer and dodge the commission and get it sold and get it to the finish line on your own, more power to you. So having said that, I'd like to ask for your permission, Tom, if it's okay. I'd like to check in with you periodically just to see how it's going, because this is my specialty. And just in case, now you may not need us, but just in case, Tom, it doesn't connect for you and you get to a point where you need to consider seriously listing, I want to be the first one to the front door. And they usually laugh when I say that. So what I'm doing is befriending Tom here. There's nothing confrontational. There's nothing type A, in your face, any of this obnoxiousness. I'm wishing him good luck. If you can sell it on your own, more power to you. Most can't. But if you're one of the few, best wishes. Simple as that. And then I'm telling them what my intentions are, that if by chance you get to that point, I don't know if you have to sell by a certain time frame, but if you're not having any luck and you need to consider listing, I want to be the first one to the front door. No more complicated than that. So let's say that's a Monday.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to make a note that we talked, and I've got, very simple ways on how I leave notes and put them on my planner for a call back and that. So I'll say, hey, Tom, would you mind terribly if I followed back up with you a little ways down the road, and say it just like that, a little ways down the road, just to see how things are going for you? Sure, John, no problem. Call back anytime. So I'm going to call them somewhere around 1 week later. I'm going to give them 1 week just to see how it's going. So let's say I call them the following Monday. So 1 week, Monday to Monday. Okay, you with me?
Yeah.
I'm going to call them back and say, hey, Tom, John DeSmedt with EXP, just touching base back. I'm just curious, have you had any luck yet, Tom, selling for sale by owner? Not really, John. I had 2 showings last week, and neither one of them were much to brag about. I don't think either one was really qualified. I got a few phone calls, but nothing really to write home about. So then I'm going to shock him now, because he's still kind of surprised I'm not going for the throat. Why isn't John insisting that what I'm trying will never work? You'll never sell it. You got to list, gotta. I'm the only one doing this.
Right.
So I'll say, hey, Tom, guess what? Don't feel bad. Some houses take a little bit longer. Maybe you'll have luck this week. So I'll check back with you, Tom, at another time. Okay, John, no problem. I'm going to call them the next Monday. So 3 Mondays, 2 full weeks. You see that time frame, or something close to that? So my third time to touch base with him by phone. Hey, Tom, John DeSmedt, just curious, how's it going? Any bites so far? You getting any offers? Not really, John. I've had a few calls, and I have one more showing since you called me last, but really nothing to write home about. I'm kind of frustrated. So the third time's the charm. So what I'm going to do now is say, hey, Tom, listen, I can tell you really want to sell. And it's been 2 weeks, and I can tell you're really trying your hardest. You're probably running a couple of ads. You got your sign out, even though it's handwritten with a crayon and it's crooked and all that. You got your sign out, okay? I can tell, Tom, you really want to sell. And then he'll say, yeah, I do. I got to move to Texas. I got to get it sold. All right, I tell you what, Tom, as I mentioned, I'm right close by here in the area, and I've helped a lot of for sale by owners. If you wouldn't mind one day, I'd love to stop by for 15, 20 minutes, take a quick look at your house. Maybe I can offer a couple of simple suggestions. And while I'm there, I'd like to give you the short version of how I professionally market a home. That way, again, just in case you get to that point, if you need to consider listing it, you'll know what I have in my arsenal. Let's say in my toolbox, and I'll leave that with you. I'll leave that seed with you. Okay, John, when do you want to come by? So this is the third call.
Right.
So he thought by now it's sold. It's under contract. They're ready for the inspection. Nothing's working. So now patience is critical here. So now he's thinking, well, this guy keeps telling me he's had a lot of experience with for sale by owners. God, what I'm trying sure as heck isn't working. Maybe I should let him come over and see what he has to say. So by that time, all right, I'm curious. And I know doggone well he wants to steal whatever ideas he can and put them to his own use. But you can't steal what I have, as he's about to find out. So he's just curious. All right, John, come on over. Take a look at the house. Come on by Thursday at 3:00. Is that a good time? Sure, Tom, I'll be there. So here's where it gets fun. So I'm going to go there. I'll have comps, and I'm going to be fully prepared, loaded for bear. Like, I'm going to prepare for this listing with the intent I want to blow him out of the water. And what I want to do is show him so much real estate stuff and prepare so well for this guy, answer any question, know about his immediate neighborhood, the comps, what have you, his home, that when I leave there, I want him to think, holy mackerel, I don't have a prayer competing against that guy.
Right.
That's my intent, even though I'm not going to say it. Okay. So when I get there, this happens all the time. When I actually get to the home of a for sale by owner, so we exchange, how you doing? Nice to see you. Where are you from? Thanks for letting me stop by. And they'll basically come right out and ask me, John, mind if I ask you, why isn't my house selling? I ran an ad here. I ran an ad in the paper. I got my sign out. Cars are passing by. Mike, I haven't even got the first offer yet. Do you have any idea why? So watch where I go now. I'll say, Tom, number one, there's several reasons probably why you're not having any luck. Okay. Number one, most buyers in this market want representation on both sides. You want to write a couple of these down. Most buyers want representation on both sides because there's a lot of moving parts nowadays into getting a home sold. It's not like the old days. Okay. That's number one. So Tom, having said that, you may have your dream buyers driving up and down your street every day, several times a week, would love to have a home like yours. But the minute they see for sale by owner, they're reluctant to approach you. Well, why is that, John? I know everything about my house. I've lived here 15 years. Well, number one, especially if it's a newer or younger buyer, they don't know what questions to ask, whether or not they have an agent. And more importantly, they're terrified that you don't have the answers because you don't have an agent.
Right.
So they may or not have representation. And obviously you don't have representation. So number one, there's going to be some reluctance. So they're going to say, all right, well, we'll just wait for the next listing to come up and we're just going to hit the pause button on this for sale by owner. So that flabbergasts Tom because he never thought of this. He thinks everybody's going to come running the minute he's got his little sign hanging out there in the front yard. Okay. Number two, I say this probably more than any other. I'll say, Tom, listen, you got a nice home here in a nice neighborhood. You got a nice home, appears to be priced relatively right in line. You are missing out on a tidal wave of technology designed to do one thing: drive buyers that are ready to buy right this minute into your driveway. Tom, they don't know you're here. They don't even know you're here. So usually they get pretty flustered and say, well, what do you mean, John? I got an ad here. I got an ad there. I'll say, Tom, we're talking about people coming from long distances to move into Charlotte here. Let's say it's Pittsburgh. They could be coming from 2 hours. They could be coming from Philly to move to Pittsburgh or Harrisburg to move to Pittsburgh. They don't know you're here because they have phone apps. They have buyer searches. They have the MLS. They may have agents looking for them. You're not coming up, Tom, on any of these popular search screens. Okay. That's number two. Third one, just kind of planting a seed with you, Tom. Most buyers, realize you're dodging the commission. So anybody that may be interested thinks you just gave them license to come in with a real low ball offer. And I'm assuming you don't want any low ball offers. Is that right, Tom? Oh, no, I don't want any of that. So see how I'm planting some seeds here? So
Yeah.
number one, most buyers want representation on both sides to have like a level playing field. Number two, you're missing out on a tidal wave of technology designed to just drive buyers right into your driveway. And in this area, we have anywhere from 12 to 15 buyers for every seller right now. Mm-hmm. And Tom, they don't even know you're here. So now he's flustered because he never thought of that. Okay. So
can you say the third one again, John?
Pardon?
Can you say the third one again?
The third one about the commission. Yeah, I'll say, Tom, some buyers that realize you're dodging the commission by going for sale by owner thinks that gives them immediate license to come in with a low ball offer. They'll take the 6% right off the top of whatever your asking price is, and they'll say, okay, now let's start there. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you don't want any part of that. Oh, no, I don't want a low ball offer. Okay. So let me give you a couple of statistics. Let me stay on the commission thought here for a second. Okay, Tim?
Yep.
I'll say, Tom, listen, once again, you got a nice home here, but the buyers don't know you're here. Look at it this way. The NAR, National Association of Realtors, every year will state in all their publications, the average fully listed property sells for 8 to 10% higher gross sales price than the average for sale by owner. And we only want 6. So let me repeat that. The average listed property sells for 8 to 10% higher than the average for sale by owner. And we only want 6. So I just justified your commission right there.
And it feels like a lot of what you're saying, where like the 1, 2, and 3 buyers wanting representation, people not being able to find the house. And then number 3 was many educated buyers realize that you may be dodging a commission and they're going to lowball offer you. No,
exactly.
And you kind of, do you string them together in some way, in the sense that like when they lowball offer you, they know that you don't have anyone representing you on the side to turn to, where, they do, it's like having an attorney in court is sometimes the example that I've used, where, you don't know the next step, how to handle it, because real estate can kind of be boiled down to marketing and negotiation. And I think that's what you really hit in those 2, 3.
What I do, Pete, and great point on your part, it depends on how they respond to my first couple of thoughts here. If you get a really technical guy that's done studies on statistics and he thinks he knows more than any of us do, that's a different conversation than some young couple that's just throwing a sign out thinking they're going to sell in a week, and on their way to Myrtle Beach they go, and this is going to be a piece of cake, and they really have no idea. They don't even know they got to fill out a property disclosure form,
right?
Just literally winging it, where some may have had this experience before and have had the good fortune to sell a couple of homes on their own. So it depends on the audience. You know what I mean? So watch this one now. If you get somebody, well, let me back up. Here's one. If it's a more sophisticated homeowner, okay, let's say he's done this before. I'll say, hey, Tom, listen, you mentioned you sold a couple of homes in Atlanta, Georgia on your own in years past. So you've done this for sale by owner before. Yeah, Jen, I have, and I did real well. All right, well, then you already know, Tom, that the best buyers out there, the big institutional investors that are going to pull up and write a check for your house, no questions asked, maybe offer you over asking because they got a list of ready to go executive level buyers that they want to put in there the very first week. You already know then, Tom, that they don't even see you. Okay. They don't fool with for sale by owners. The best buyers, the strongest buyers, you never hear them fooling with a for sale by owner. You may catch one. If you did it in Atlanta, Georgia a couple times, you got lucky, and more power to you. Like I said when I first called you, most can't. Okay, now you got to do all your due diligence on that buyer. You got to talk to the loan officer and they've got a loan commitment letter, not just a pre-approval letter. You got to handle your own inspection, negotiate repairs, and hope it appraises. So you got to do all that on your own, plus all the showings. But I'm telling you right now, the best buyers don't even fool with for sale by owners. So watch this now. Let's say I go 2, 3, 4 pegs up the ladder, and I'm still not getting anywhere. So now I got to change tactics. I'll say, hey, Tom, listen, I study this stuff pretty closely. The statistics from NAR tell us that 90% of people that start for sale by owner never sell at all. And of the 10% that manage to go under contract, less than 50% of those close. Let me repeat that. Of all the people that start attempting to sell for sale by owner, 90% of those never sell at all, okay? And of the 10% that do go under contract, 50% of those never close. So walk with me here for a second, Tom. You mentioned you want to go to, you and your wife are going to move to Myrtle Beach. Yes, sir. We're all excited. We're going to move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Okay, great. So let's say the middle of next week, here comes a buyer. You get a ring at the doorbell, nice young couple. They want to see the house. You show them the house, show them around. Everything's good. They really like the house. Okay, great, Tom. Thanks for showing it. We want to think about it, and we'll be in touch. They come back the next morning, want to see it again, like it just as much. They make you an offer. You and your wife talk it over. Hey, this is an offer I think we can accept. They got their credentials. They got a good deposit check. You talk to their loan officer. Everything checks out. So you accept the offer. You sign off. You got your house sold. You are under contract. So you and your wife get in the car the next day and drive to Myrtle Beach. Start looking for your dream home. And while you get there, you find a builder that's building a nice new subdivision with what appears to have everything you're looking for. You write that builder a nice deposit check on a lot that you and your wife found that you really like. So in a matter of a couple of days, you sold your house. Now you put a deposit on your dream home in Myrtle Beach. All excited. So now you're driving home. Man, you got a whole lot done on your own in the last few days. You get back home, let's say it's Sunday night, and then early the following week, when you think you got your home sold and you got a deposit now on a home you're going to build in Myrtle Beach, you get a phone call and, your buyer on your current house's financing just fell through. So here's what usually happens now, Tom. You're almost forced to list your current home because now the clock is ticking and you don't want to lose that lot in Myrtle Beach. So you're almost forced to list it because the clock's ticking and probably even at a little bit lesser price than you had hoped. So do you really want to go through all that?
Yeah. It's
like 5 points there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's, I think I'm just trying to think through, like, as you're talking too, like what you're making me, as you say each point, think of is just the concept of it's discovering the motivation and creating fear and urgency. And that's something that Tim and I have talked a lot about, with the guys we work with as well. And just, Tim, it sounds very similar. Well, I guess I'm asking you though, do you think it sounds very similar to some of the things that you consistently rather say?
Yeah. DJ, fear and greed move mountains. So in this case, you're planting the seed of doubt from even the first time you have a conversation with them over the phone, saying in the off chance you're able to do this. And then you kind of perpetuate that even down to meeting with them in person. And then you're kind of giving them a lot of imagery in them going to Myrtle Beach and doing everything you're talking about. And then they think, well, shoot, if that does happen, I can see where that's a problem, whereas I never thought of that before. So on that, John, I guess I have a couple questions for you. At least in Pittsburgh, for sale by owners, I'll set appointments with, or DJ will, we're finding that if we even wait 2 or 3 days, they're usually accepting an offer, because I think a lot of for sale by owners, well, I don't want to say a lot, but I think a lot of them are so convinced that they can do it on their own, and they absolutely can. And then it's kind of like an ego thing, like, oh, well, hey, I did it on my own. Well, that's great. I could try and change my oil, but it'd take me 7 hours. I don't want to do that. So I think ego gets into it. So we're seeing like we need to get there almost the next day, or we might be in trouble.
Yep.
So I'm wondering how much of that you're dealing with, where you're doing the week over week, and then with that, do you have a fair amount of folks you talk to that even with that first seed of doubt, they go, well, what do you mean, John? If I'm able to do it on my own, because they might not have thought of that. Have you run into that a lot?
Oh yeah. Well, they're selling them down here. I mean, just like regular listings are, incredibly fast. So what I do, you brought up really good points there. The first thing I'm going to try to gauge, like you guys know Pittsburgh, or I know Charlotte. If it's in South Park or Ballantyne, which are two of the high dollar, just smoking white hot areas, they're probably going to sell it themselves unless they have it priced so high, or there's issues with the house, or it's on a busy corner on a main street. They're probably going to sell it themselves. So where I have luck is I tend to go out a little bit further. And to your point, first, second, third, fourth day, if it's not gone, well, if it's not gone in the first, second, or third or fourth day, it's probably not going to sell in 2 or 3 weeks either.
Right.
So what I'm waiting for is for his knees to buckle. So he backs out of the driveway every morning. He sees that ugly handwritten sign. Comes home from work every night, sees that ugly handwritten sign. So, but I'm going to sell it on my own. I don't need John. Okay. So you do that for a week, 2 weeks, the frustration builds and everybody else is selling and he sees cars driving by, but nobody wants his house. And I just keep politely staying in touch. And one day his knees are going to buckle. So all I want is when he gives up, I want to be the first one he thinks of, whether I'm there in person. And I've had many for sale by owners when I go through my entire listing presentation, and that's what you guys aren't seeing. What I bring to the table on a listing presentation, whether it's a for sale by owner or an expired, I mean, don't take it the wrong way. It is some powerful stuff. And like I say, I want to knock him right off his feet. You only get one chance. Yeah. And I want him to say, holy mackerel, I never even knew some of the stuff you have even existed, John. Buyer capturing system, voice activation, phone number, 800 number. I've never even heard of this stuff before. I said, yeah, just think I got buyers calling me each and every week, year round. And one of them would probably ideally love your house, Tom, but they don't know about you. So you get to a point, most of them try. So whether it's a few days, a week, 2 weeks, a month, they're going to give in initially. They're going to give in eventually. So you want to be there. So if you remember me telling you, when I first cut my teeth, it was the worst buyer's market ever. I mean, this is Detroit. You couldn't give a house away. Yeah. So I learned how to do a listing presentation. I used to get so much extra practice on for sale by owners because nobody could give a house away. Everybody was unemployed. They'd have 10 people look at their house and only one could even qualify for a loan. That's where I came from. Down here, I mean, they're standing in line on your driveway.
Yeah.
Direct. So that's where I got so much extra practice on for sale by owners. And in a little bit, I eventually added on expireds and withdrawals. But we're not going to get them all. But when the market shifts, then they love us because then it gets real rough and tumble to get a house sold. So, but there's a lot of them out there. I mean, I go by my land voice leads. There's not as many expireds, withdrawals, or for sale by owners out there right now because everything is selling so fast. But there's still a pretty good mix. I'm driving to Atlanta first thing tomorrow morning. I've got 6 agent meetings in the next 2 days for, agent attraction. And they're all with different firms. And we're going to talk about some lead gen and some masterminding while we're talking about EXP and comparing the different models. So, because when they see my portfolio, a lot of them, holy mackerel, how did you put this book together here? I say, well, it takes years. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen overnight. So the same with a homeowner. I want to just show him, if nothing else, okay, now you're talking to a real estate professional that's been doing this for a little while, not just some knucklehead that saw your ad and thinks he can kind of twist your arm into just listing it, on a whim. This is a seasoned veteran here that's been doing this, hundreds of homes. Yeah. So, and I've had some just kind of interrupt me in the middle of the presentation and say, all right, John, let's go ahead. What do we have to sign? Let's go ahead and list it. What's your commission? And others will say, you know what, John, thanks for coming over. I still think I'm going to sell it myself. And then a week later, the phone rings.
Yeah.
I may call them back, or they may call and say, John, I give up. It's just not working. I got to get this house sold. We got to move to Austin, Texas. When do you want to come by? So you get them all different kinds of way. But if you –
What you said at the beginning – sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is no matter what any of these hot shots try to tell you, I've been doing this so many times. I've never been a believer that you have to resort to any of these bait and switch tactics or these high pressure closes. If you do your job properly, I get asked this all the time, whatever kind of listing I'm going on. If I do my job properly and really go in prepared, they close me. They will literally stop or say, John, let us think about it tonight. Let my wife and I talk it over. You're very impressive here, but we want to just think about it because this is a big decision. Absolutely. Take whatever time you need. Yep. And then they either call me back, or when I call them back, all right, John, come on back. What do we have to sign?
Yeah.
I never, ever result to, and I hate to say it, my former brokerage teaches that, like, win at all costs, don't take no for an answer. And that's so old. You know what I mean?
It is. Yeah. And I think what you said at the beginning of the call here is the personality type that you're on the phone with for a sale by owner is the exact person that does not want to hear high pressure sales.
Exactly right.
Because they are the person who's like, yeah, I don't need them. I'll just do it myself. And if you're calling to tell them that they can't do it themselves, it's almost just reinforcing their decision to do it themselves.
Oh, it just ignites into confrontational, and you will not win. You know what I mean?
And confrontation in any capacity is like, usually what you're saying is making me think through this, where it's like, usually you have to be able to convey some sort of value, and if your only ability is to just be aggressive, then, you might as well, you're not going to be very good. You might as well do something else. And you have to be able to, it's what stories, it's like you sell with stories sell emotions.
Facts sell, stories sell.
Thank you.
Exactly right.
And, you're bringing your listing presentation, you have the facts, and you're telling stories about difficult situations that have encountered in the past or whatever they might be, facing, and how you can help them. So
let's talk off the record here for a second now. Consider your market as to what Tim was just describing the first 2 or 3 days, right? And our market pretty much the same, if not hotter, because there's so many people from up your way coming down this way, or from my old hometown. You can literally be point blank to the seller and say, hey, Tom, listen, you got it listed at $325. The market says you need to list it, look, by way of the comps, at $325. That's your number, maybe $330. Tom, this market is so hot, you can error high. You can put another 10, 15, 20,000 in a lot of neighborhoods right now. The buyers will still buy it. You'll have them fighting over your house the day you go active if you decide to list it. And, oh, by the way, that's going to pay for most of my commission. But they don't know you're there. So you know what I say? Why don't we find out? It won't cost you a nickel to let me list it. And if it's not working, watch this. Did I tell you about a guaranteed services agreement?
No, not yet.
Okay, write this one. You'll love this.
Yeah.
Write down guaranteed services agreement. And you can use this on an expired, a withdrawn, or for sale by owner. Say, Tom, listen, I know you're frustrated. You've been trying 2 or 3 weeks and it's just not selling on your own. If you decide to list and give me a shot at it, okay, it won't cost you a nickel to find out. Let's find out what the ceiling is. Let's find out. Let's let 5 or 6 buyers possibly offer on your house. Let them fight over it for a minute, and let's find out what your ceiling is. I'll get you offers. I promise, Tom, in this market, I'm going to get you offers. And if you get an offer that for some reason you just don't like, don't take it. Don't accept it. I'll get you another one. And then if for some reason it's just not clicking and you want out, we can cancel the listing anytime you want. So what I call it, let's go back a minute. Let's say you go on a listing and they interview 2 or 3 or 4 agents and they want to think about it over the weekend. And they call Pete back Monday morning and say, Pete, listen, we got a little problem. we interviewed 4 of you agents, and Pete, you sounded great, but 2 of the other agents sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I can't make up our mind. You all sounded good. So what do we do? So here's what I do. Let's say Tom again. Tom, I'll tell you what, I've actually been down that road before, and I commend you for interviewing other agents. So when you make a decision, you know you're going to have done your own due diligence on who you and your wife are going to choose. Here's what I do in this scenario. I offer what's called a guaranteed services agreement.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? So what this means is if you're willing to set sail with me, Tom, and give me a chance and let me list your home, if for some reason we go a ways down the road and you're not getting the results that you thought you would, either you're not getting the right kind of offer, you're not getting enough offers, you're not happy with me, you're not happy with my firm, we can cancel a listing anytime you want. And I will personally write right in the listing agreement under additional notes, if seller is unhappy, listing can be unconditionally withdrawn at any point. And I'll sign an initial right next to it.
Yep.
No one does that.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, he's like, I got nothing to lose. Either John's going to get me the golden goose offer, or I can kick John to the curb in 6 or 8 weeks if it's not happening.
That's
and he's
really
absolutely right.
I went to Tony Robbins. It was in Dallas with EXP's Build Conference this past August. And what you just made me think of was, it's number one, who's your ideal client? Obviously we're talking about for sale by owners, and what are you going to help them with? What's your irresistible offer, which is what you just said, where it's your irresistible offer is all the risk is on me, working through that guaranteed, and then over deliver, obviously, where it's like you're getting offers, you're working through it. It's
funny you brought that up, because about 2 more notes down my column here, I was going to say, hey, Tom, listen, what if you got an offer that was wildly over what you ever anticipated? What would that do then? At what point do you say, holy mackerel, I got to take that one? So I go back to, and I've been saying this for almost 2 years here in Charlotte. Let's find out what the ceiling is. If you're not happy with the terms, the offer price, whatever the details are, you got to move out too fast, don't take it. I'll get you another one. You'll never, ever see a seller's market like this before. You'll have 10 to 12 buyers in your driveway the first couple of days, probably have several offers on your kitchen table. You got all the leverage in the world. But while you're going for sale by owner, 80% of those buyers don't even know you're here. And a lot of them would love to have your house, but now they're terrified to approach you because you don't have an agent. And I hate to say it, every now and then, someone's going to think you may be hiding something. Well, if that house is so good, why is he going for sale by owner? Why doesn't he have it blaring on all the airways? It's a good question. See how I'm doing that?
I think it's so difficult now, obviously, to maybe nail down and get the initial appointment with the for sale by owner, let's say, because they can easily get an offer. Let's say it might be way below what they could have gotten if they listed it. Yep. I feel like once you're able to get in the door and show them some of these hypotheticals, get them some of the fear and greed, even as simple as, do you want to be here this weekend when there's 25 people coming through your house? Yep. Is that something that you're interested in doing? Probably not. So just putting some of those seeds of doubt, and just the process of, do you want to review 12 offers, you personally, and sift through all of this, maybe with a lawyer? These are the things that they probably don't really think about, because they think that it's over as soon as they get an offer accepted, like you mentioned earlier.
It just
yeah, I mean, it's an incredible time to see with all these buyers lining up at the door. But
one thing, let me interject here. Forgive me, Tim. Forgive me for interrupting. Whether it's a for sale by owner, an expired or withdrawn, you know where the gold of gold leads are? The old ones.
Yeah.
So a lead, an expired that you're going to try to call in the first week. I mean, you're going up against the Pacific Ocean of agents.
Right.
You're going to get 150 calls in the first 2 days. They are here, I guarantee you. So wait a month, 2 months, 3 months. I think my wife and I counted last week. I think out of my last 16 or 17 listings, I think 14 or 15 were from leads that were at least 90 days old and some 6 to 8 months old. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know this guy with the cowboy hat? He's all over the EXP Airways, Nolly Williams.
I do, yeah. Well, I don't know him, but I know who that is.
I've met him several times. He used to be with KW like I did, and his claim to fame is he's listed 1,000 homes in 10 years. 1,000 homes in 10 years. So, you know, I guess take it for what it's worth. He literally has been on stage several times, and I've listened to him. He says, listen, you can sell 40 to 50 homes a year just from old expireds. Forget for sale by owners and off markets. Just go back 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Mm-hmm. Don't ever throw any of your old leads away because there's gold sitting in there. He said, I can sell 40 to 50 old expireds a year if I had nothing else to go on. And I actually believe that because I've been close. You know what I mean?
And that makes me think of what you said. I believe it was in the previous call we've done, first call. Just going super deep with one, maybe two things is I think really kind of not a key takeaway, but an important point where, like, for me, starting in real estate, I, as you said too, was like, okay, make for sale by owner calls, do open houses, withdrawn leads, expired leads, and talk to all your friends and family, where it's like, well, that's 500 phone calls a day. And I don't even know how to do any of them, first off. So you end up then with like 3 buyers and like some sellers who you're just kind of all over the place. And you have no system for any of it. And then you find yourself out of business because you spent a bunch of money on trying to like market to people, so my thought and point in saying that is, like, with someone who is maybe new or newer, like doesn't really have a budget, you said before too, you have your phone, you have some leads. What maybe, like, to get started, I guess is the question. Like, what would you say to get started? Maybe just studying a script, or how would you get someone going?
Fantastic question, because I have this conversation, as you can well imagine, almost every day with newer agents. Call me old school, but what I kind of observed, and I made this my mission in life as a newer real estate agent, I got to have something in my bag of tricks that the other guys don't. Mm-hmm. So whether it was, when I started, it was, hey, we got sign riders now. Okay. And then in Detroit, they'd fall in the snow, and we're digging in the snow, trying to find them in the middle of winter, and that got old. Then I got the 800 number. Okay. Then I got voice activation, and then you have all these. So I always try to have 1 or 2 tricks. I mean, I've made an absolute career out of this 800 number.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about that much, but the same 3 companies offer this thing every year, and it just befuddles me beyond words why more and more realtors and loan officers don't take advantage of this 800 number. So the few around here in Charlotte that do have it, they don't even answer their phone. So what's the point? So I take that 800 number instead of, okay, you can call and send a text or leave a message, and then hopefully somebody will call you back. I got one that voice activates live right into my cell on the same call. And I'm going to do a 30-second live demo. I walked you guys through this, right?
No, I don't think the full thing in depth. No.
What's the name of the company that you?
Well, I get mine now from Land Voice too. But ProQuest is the originator, but they changed your technology so it's almost impossible to use.
Okay.
But my point is, I got something here that 99 out of the next 100 realtors not only don't have, but don't use the way I do. Mm-hmm. So if I show this to old Tom, the for sale by owner, he's going to fall off his chair when I say, Tom, listen, I got buyers calling me year round that would love a 3-bedroom ranch on a half acre just like you have here, but they don't even know you're here. So I got something. So look at it this way. I'm off track here for a second, but I'm to your point here still. Okay, Pete?
Yeah.
So Tom, let's say he's an expired. I know you've interviewed 10 realtors, and you're basically tired of all of us. Like you said on the phone, John, you guys all sound like the same. You all sound like robots. So unless you got something different, John, we probably don't have any reason for you to come over here. Mm-hmm. Tom, I really believe I've got something here you may not have seen before. and I'll begin to tell them the gist of it over the phone. Okay, well, I haven't heard of that yet. That sounds different. All right, well, if you give me 15 minutes, I'll do a live demonstration right at your kitchen table, and we'll see what you think. And I'll show how this thing voice activates, and we'll pretend we're a dummy caller, a demonstration buyer caller, and he can see how this goes off. There's your buyer right there. That was good timing, huh?
Really good timing.
Yeah. It actually happens sometimes.
Always the best timing, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell my wife, hey, call me at 20 after 1. It'll be perfect timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll say, Tom, you see how that call went off? And I say, what's that phone number? He'll say, that's my cell number. I said, exactly. And that could have been your buyer, Tom. And guess what? I just got first crack at him. And more importantly, he doesn't even know your home's for sale because you're going for sale by owner. So I got 100 different ways to sell that system.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Pete, to have something, in other words, either you got a better photographer or you got a better website or you got a better buyer capturing system like I do, or you market higher end properties different and better than the next, try to have something the other guys don't, because we're all new at the same thing and we don't have my portfolio when we're new. So you know what I used to do? When I started, it was Keller who? Nobody ever heard of Keller Williams. So when I first got my sign, everything's red. I took a great big picture of my sign and I took 6 copies of it. Don't laugh. This is a true story. I told my wife, look, I got my first sign. I'm a real estate agent. Now, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with this, but I got my first sign. So I went out in my front yard, took a picture of it. Oh, that's cool. And I got an 8x10 of it. And then I start thinking, when I start thinking I'm dangerous, right? My wife tells me. So I put it in the trunk of the car and I started driving around. Oh, there's a nice ranch over there. Guess what? I don't think they're home. Jump out of the car, take a picture of my sign right in front of their house. Okay. Go 6 streets over. Oh, there's a nice 2-story, a big house. Doesn't look like they're home. The lights are off. Jump out, take a picture. So I had 6 different pictures of my first sign in the back of my book. Here, hang on.
That's a really good idea.
Did anybody come home when you were doing that?
No. My wife used to tell me I was going to get in trouble, but see this?
Yeah.
This is no different than my first year at KW because I got 3 different versions of EXP signs. I don't know if you can see these.
Yeah, no, I can.
So what I do is I say, because we went through it here 4 years ago, they say, EXP, John, we always knew you at Keller Williams. What is this EXP stuff? I say, sir, if you decide to list with me, I'm just showing you this is what one of my signs is going to look like in front of your house. Oh, really? Oh, by the way, you see this 800 number? Guess what this does? And then boom, on I go. You know what I mean? See my cell number? See my website? I got them right there.
It's
no
like
one does it.
leading
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's social proof. You know, where you're like, look, I've done this before, sort of thing, with your sign, and like it's kind of leading yourself into the conversation where like I did it for all these people,
yeah,
and I can do it for you too, you know, and then you go right into it.
Yeah.
That's
when I was brand new. Can I share something else with you, Pete? You can actually put your newness to a gigantic advantage. Now watch this. You guys ever sell against a team and get beat by a team on a listing?
I mean, we're technically still, I guess, affiliated with our team. I mean, I'm not technically on it, but yeah, I mean, we've lost out to other teams. Yeah.
Okay. So watch this. I'm brand new. I'm 6 months in, and maybe I've had a closing. Maybe I haven't even had my first closing yet. And I'm all excited. I'm on a listing presentation and they say, John, we can tell you're ambitious, but you're brand new. Well, I can tell you're enthused, John, but we were hoping to get a little more experience, John. And I know you're new in real estate, but we interviewed so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and they're battle-tested agents. They've been in the business 12, 15 years. And then, by the way, John, we also interviewed Chuck Atkins. He's got a mega team over here in Waxhaw. And this is a buddy of mine who happens to have a mega team over here in Waxhaw. We compete all the time. So they'll say, John, guess what? So-and-so's got 12 listings. So-and-so's got 15 listings. And Mrs. So-and-so has 18 listings. How many do you have, John? I said, I only got 3. because I'm brand new. Okay. Well, John, I hate to say it. How could you possibly compete with these other 3 agents that have so many more listings than you do? And then he's going to bring up, well, I interviewed Chuck Atkins. He has 9 people on his team. He has 37 listings. He's got 3 listing agents, 3 buyers agents, 2 admins, and an appointment recorder. And he does millions and millions of dollars worth of business. And he's got 37 listings. So I can't wait for him to say this, because you know why? Tom, guess what? You mentioned all these people have all these listings and I'm brand new. Well, they're sure not selling them very fast, are they? Ooh, because they start talking down to you when you're brand new. They talk down to you like you're, pretty low, and they're trying to talk you out of it. I'll say, Tom, listen, let's turn this right around. You're catching me at a great time, because a year from now, I'm probably going to have 25 or 30 listings. Oh, by the way, those first 3 agents you mentioned that got 12, 15, and 18 listings, if you list with them, and I'm sure they're good, but you're going to be number 13, 16, and 19. There's 18 people ahead of you that are waving their hand. Tom, why hasn't my home sold yet? With me, I can almost be your personal full-time real estate professional. So put that to your advantage, but use that guaranteed services agreement. Say, Tom, listen, give me a chance. I know I got what it takes to get you top dollar for your home. And if you set sail with me, if for some reason it's not clicking and you want to if you want to cancel a listing, we can cancel at any time, and I'll put it right in writing. No one does that.
I'm happy that you brought that back, because I was just thinking that as you were saying it too, where like if you combine those 2 things, where it's like, yeah, I'm new, but let me tell you something that nobody else does.
Exactly.
Just something like that. We're like, I mean, you've said so many good things. It's hard to even ask a question on one of them. I can't, but like,
here's the other thing. Go like this.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, we're in the hottest sellers market any of us have ever seen. And I know you're talking to a lot of big hitter agents that have been around a long time. Well, guess what? When the market gets this hot, you notice they tend to ease off the gas a little bit. It comes so easy. They feel like they don't have to work as hard anymore. Well, guess what? I'm new and I'm hungry, because I don't even know where my first closing is coming from, Tom. I am dying to get at your house. I mean, say it any way you have to.
Sure.
Put me. I mean, you guys are in Pittsburgh, Rudy, right? So just say it any way you want, but like, give me a chance, because a year from now, I'm going to have 25 or 30 listings. So that's how you bring those guys to their knees when they talk down to a newer agent and say, well, all these other people, well, they're not selling them very fast, are they?
Something that I've thought of, and not really any more used, but like you can say the thing that that they're going to say before they say it.
Yeah.
And it eliminates the objection automatically, where it's like, just along the lines that you were saying, where like, if you're a new agent, we're like, listen, I've been doing this, use your prior experience. We're like, hopefully you did something else. And if you didn't, then just use school as an example. And if you didn't do well in school, then, I don't know, don't lie. But it's like, look, these are the credentials that I have. I'm new at this. Yeah. But prior to real estate, I did medical sales for 7 years. This is easy because nobody dies in real estate. The experience in negotiation that I had to go through with like insurance companies for your mother and father's health, that was a whole lot higher stress than this. And I know that I can do this, and just like leveraging, they're like, oh, wow. And then, they'll ask you questions about like medication or something. It was like, yeah, I can't help you with that. But it's just making sure that you use what you have and be authentic, because
let me give you guys another one. Let me give you guys another one, because Pete, you're onto some good things here. So you're at an expired listing or a withdrawn, same conversation as I said, or even a for sale by owner. So you may say, if it's a for sale by owner, he may say, oh, I tried an agent, John. That was a disaster. We didn't like that lady. She was obnoxious. She was arrogant. She never got us one offer. So we let that expire. Now I'm going to sell it for sale by owner. Or if it's an expired, they say, well, we've tried 2 other agents, John. Nice guys, but it just didn't. We didn't get any results. Say, okay, well, let me ask you something. You now know how showing time works, how showings get logged in. Somebody requests a showing and you accept or decline. So let me explain to you here, Tom, how I really work a listing. So you just listed it with me. We're going active. The day it goes active, the phone starts ringing. Here come the showing appointments, right? So when you get your cell phone, request, and you can accept or decline. So you accept it. You know what I do? It hits my phone simultaneously the minute you hit accept, right, Tom? Oh, yeah, I know how that works. So guess what? Rather than just looking at my phone and saying, okay, Tom's got a showing tomorrow at 11:30. Guess what? Within 15 minutes, Tom, I'm on the phone with that buyer's agent.
Mm-hmm.
You are? Why? Well, I want to hear about this buyer. Because in Charlotte, nobody's from here. Everybody's from out of state. Everybody's from Detroit, Pittsburgh, Philly, Wisconsin, you name it. Nobody's from here. I want to hear about that buyer. There's so little for sale. I don't want to waste your time, Tom. So give me 5 great showings rather than 20 wastes of time. I want to hear where they got their loan commitment letter from. I want to hear what kind of home they really are looking for. Where are they commuting to for work? Is it a certain school district? Is it near a country club? Whatever. Do they want to be near Lake Norman? I want to hear what the buyer really is looking for to see if there's an initial fit. And if the house and property sounds like it's an initial fit, as we're winding down, I'll simply say, hey, Bill, I'm just curious. These people moving to Charlotte from Pittsburgh, I'm just curious. Where did they go for their loan commitment letter coming that far away? Now, notice how I asked that. I didn't say, can they afford $350 or $450? Are they pre-approved for this home? I don't want to embarrass anybody. Just say, where did they get their loan commitment letter from? Meaning I'm assuming they're loan committed already. And you'd be surprised. 50-50. Some agents say, well, I haven't even gotten that far with them yet, John. This will be the first time I've met them. Huge red flag. Yeah. So you're helping the buyer's agent do his job. I say, Tom, you see how I say I'm helping that agent? By the way, he's never even been to Mint Hill. He lives in Mooresville. That's an hour away from here. He's never even seen the new amenities here in your neighborhood. When you talk like this, and they'll say, you mean to tell me you do that with every appointment? I say, absolutely. I'm looking for one great buyer. You can wave a sign out in your front lawn and you can get buyers parading in and out of here every day. But I'm looking for one great buyer that's qualified and really wants and is looking for a home just like yours. Anything short of that, we're all wasting our time. Nobody shows that much hustle. I've gotten listings just by telling that story, and it's a true story. Yeah. Now, once you've been around a while, you recognize some of these agents that are going to show. You say, well, I know this lady and I know this guy. They wouldn't waste their time if they didn't have an A+ buyer. They wouldn't even get in the car, which is good.
Right.
But you see how I did that? This is how you really work a listing when everything else is the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, you're saving some time on the back end too, as opposed to, if you get 20 showings and then you have to, reach out to everybody after the weekend's over or something like that. You've already kind of pre-vetted them. And so when the offer comes in, you know what to expect. So I've never heard of that. That's really good.
Yep. It's like when Pete says, what else do you do when you're new? Well, I always try to have a couple extra little surprises. What if you run out of surprises and you still can't get them to say, okay, John, I'm going with you? Well, then you got to put everything on a level playing field where nobody's got an advantage. But what are the common things? Well, showing time, buyer's agents, buyers possibly coming from out of town. We got 140 golf courses here within a half hour. Maybe they don't like golf. Maybe they're boaters and they want to be on Lake Wiley or Lake Norman. We got lakes all over the place here. And, whatever their sweet spot is, does their agent even know about this?
Yeah.
Down here in the South, no disrespect, but we have churches every 50 feet here.
Yeah. Wow.
Of all different kind of denominations. Okay. So it's a big deal down here. Listen, John, I want to be near such and such kind of church, and I want to be near a private golf course, and I want to be within 2 hours and 15 minutes to Charleston and Myrtle Beach, or I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other people will come in and say, we had no idea where Charlotte even is on the map. You're going to have to help us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the ideal client, it feels like, too, as well. We're like, even just more from like a higher view standpoint, too, I think, like, we were kind of talking about it already. We're like, you have the for sale by owner, you have the buyers. My question is, like, how many, so like when you get a listing, whether it's for sale by owner, expired, whatever it is, what would you say is like an average, they say like listings have babies, you get one, you hopefully get another one. like, I think there's like a statistic. It's like every listing should average at least one other listing or like 2.5 buyer clients or something like that. Do you
Not
ever?
in this market. Yeah. That's old days when there's more inventory out there. But in this market, I mean, they're gone so fast. It's hard to quantify that.
Mhm.
But I've really never looked at it like that. I looked at it as more, well, we haven't gotten into this yet, but I track, you know, that book I sent you, Fanatical Prospecting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys got to read that, by the way. Read it as fast as you can, then
I've
read it
read it.
again. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
I track 8 different categories.
Mhm.
So I track calls, contacts, leads, prospects, appointments, sales, closings, and commissions. I track every one of these. And the most important one is the first one, calls.
Mhm.
That's the gasoline that starts the car. So
Yeah.
if my call volume is dropping, all of this is going to begin to collapse.
Yeah.
It's just like an accordion. So I hold myself to a pretty high standard every week in just number of legitimate new prospecting calls.
That's what you just shared. I think is probably the most valuable thing, that if an agent that started saw 30 seconds of anything about real estate,
Yep.
knowing that would be perfect, because it's just like control what you can, and the effort, if you put the effort into, like you said, the gasoline in the car, the
Yep.
calls that you're making, the appointments that you go on, you can't help but have everything else happen, you know.
Yep.
And it's a learning process to make sure that it eventually goes as well as possible, but you're not going to get to negotiating appraisals if you don't even make the first phone calls.
Oh yeah. Do yourself a gigantic favor and read that book. I've actually gotten to know the author. He lives
Wow.
over in Atlanta, Georgia, and
Oh,
he's
wow.
got a handful of best-selling books. But that one is, when you read 10 pages, you're going to say, "Oh my God, now I know what John meant." This is so easy. I mean, it can be for a corporate salesperson, but you can flip the switch and see, this is exactly what real estate professionals do every single day. And his whole purpose is the value of this thing. And he says, yeah, all these young hotshots say, well, I don't have to prospect. I can text, I can email, I can direct message on Facebook. I got all these other ways. I don't have to prospect anymore. And he's got, you'll read it. He's got statistics and figures and graphs where all of those people, all their production is absolutely tanking. So when you think about what's into one of these things, what we can do with this thing is absolutely magic. And I got my own, I still use a Franklin planner, and I got all my old school hard binders here, but I track my stuff ways that I know that works.
Yeah.
But
and
I know what I'm doing with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been doing it for so long.
It's something that, like, and it takes time to create it, you know, and that's something that we talked about before too. Just having something where, like, you need to make the calls, you need to know what you're going to say, you need to have a listing presentation, and then you work through the negotiations. You know, it's just kind of like the order of operations. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut it short, but my thought would be definitely going to get Fanatical Prospecting. I've found that just reading anything about sales and, like, the psychology of people, you know, I kind of just want to make it full circle. Like, you know, when we started talking about the mindset of a for sale by owner, you have to get it into your own head. Like, who you're talking to, what does that person need help with, and how can I help them? You know, just asking yourself those sort of questions.
Expireds and withdrawals are basically problem solving. They made an attempt. You know, like one of you guys said, I can't change my own oil. So somebody tried and they couldn't change the oil. So now we got to bring in a hired gun that can help them.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's
I like it. A hired gun.
Yeah. So that's all we really are. But no, to me, it all starts on the phone. And I get these new agents that look at me like I got 3. What do you mean on the phone? You mean make calls every day, John? Are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy at all. You know what I mean? And so I could tell a mile away. I hate to say this. Like a young agent called me today, a young lady. I mean, she's not 2 years out of college. You think I'm passionate? This girl, if somebody gets a hold of her in the next year, she's got rock star, you know, every now and then you hear a voice and you're like, wow, if she could just bottle that, she's that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a radio voice, a TV anchor, that good. Where other people, I mean, you wouldn't buy a candy bar from them. They could care less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, your tonality and like, some people have it, some people don't. You can learn a lot, but yeah, the natural gift, it's like a comedian or something. You still need to get the reps in. You need
You know where I learned my reps? I'm not trying to dump on my old hometown too much, but I did live radio for about 6 months.
Okay.
That's
Before
great.
I got into real estate, I sold small corporate and health and self-employed health insurance.
Yeah.
So if you think about Detroit, when the auto industry takes a turn, you get laid off, you lose your medical coverage, and then heaven forbid you start falling behind on your house payment. It gets, it goes bad pretty quick. Okay. But we're used to that from being up there, blue collar.
Mm.
So somebody told me, John, you should try this health insurance, healthcare. You'd be great at it. All right. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I was tired of traveling in corporate world. So I started selling healthcare plans, and I got kind of good at it. And I said, you know what? Nobody knows my message. So I called WJR Radio. It's the biggest AM station in the Midwest. And I went between J.P. McCarthy and Rush Limbaugh. I said, if I'm going to do this, let's just go for broke. Let them laugh at me. And I went and I thought it was an interview at the station downtown Detroit on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, John, do you know what you're going to say? I said, no, not really. I'd have to give it some thought. All right, John, well, you're on in 30 seconds. So they let me do a trial and error, just literally a 30-second live spot with no preparation.
Yeah.
And whatever I said came off decent because the phone lines blew up. And they were calling the station. Who was that guy? Can you get his phone number? Who was that guy? What was his name again? What's he selling? And you try to sell health insurance to an area that's 30% unemployment, that's a tough sell because nobody's got any money. So that's how I got in other words, you better make it good. You got 30 seconds on this radio. You're either going to sound like a bumbling idiot, same as I do when I'm calling these expireds, or you're out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's to your credit. Like, you can't be too afraid of, no one's going to hurt you physically. Like, you're not going to die.
I can't.
You can't be too afraid to take the shot.
I can't wait to make the next dial because I'm anxious to hear who's on the other end. And then if they've already committed to another agent, fine. Thanks for letting me know. Best wishes. I can cross him off the list.
For sure. It's the phrase I've heard before. It's like the gamification of work in life, where it's just like it becomes fun if you. It's like, oh, I only have 5 more no's until I get a yes, where it's like, okay, that's one way to think about it. But it's like, call people, make it fun, play some music, and know that it's important. I really, really like what you said as far as the gasoline in the car thing. But John, no, I really appreciate the time, man.
No problem.
Sorry, I do have to jump off in just a minute here because I need to call someone back.
Absolutely.
In about 5 minutes, but
John, is there a way?
Any way I can.
Is there a way, John, we can somehow maybe get a hold of the expired FSBO script? I don't know if you sent Pete that last time or.
You know what I can do? I can text them both to Pete, but the key point here, I'll send you both of my sheets for sale by owners on one side.
Okay.
And expireds on the other. These are the bullet points I've given you these last 2 sessions. Perfect. But the key is, if I would have just sent this to Pete sight unseen, and you didn't hear the thinking behind it,
right?
It wouldn't have done you, I don't think, any good.
Well, so John, I real quick though too, for anyone who watches this, what's the best way for them to either like reach out? Would that be like your website if they had a question for you? Would that, or like, I mean, obviously
just
your phone
number
online.
Feel free to share my cell number.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, on Facebook, you can obviously type in John's name.
Sure.
Or obviously your website too. Cause I'm sure that like, who knows who sees it in the future sort of thing.
Yeah.
And in 2 years from now, maybe someone sees it and they're like, oh, that guy was great. I want to talk to him. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not hard to find.